Hi everyone. So today we'll be comparing processing speed to pool of memories, right? So let's just look at this real quick. So imagine you have a problem, right? And you're just solving a problem. So while solving a problem, your processing speed from one thought to the next may be too slow due to a larger pool of thoughts to choose from. What does this mean? Okay, so you have a pool of thoughts and it's rather large, right? But that's not what I want you to imagine. What I want you to imagine is you see this diagram right here. So you're going from thought to thought, right? However, if there's a large pool of thoughts to choose from, when you go from this thought to this thought, for example, then it's gonna take up much more of your working memory space because, well, it's a large pool of thoughts, right? When you have a large, the size of the pool of thoughts is directly proportional to how long it's going to take you to go from one thought to the next. Does that make sense? Anyways, yeah. So that's basically how it works. So yeah, more effort's going to be put into retrieving these thoughts because it's a large pool of thoughts. You're retrieving it from a large pool of thoughts. Hence, more of the working memory space is taken up during the whole process. Okay. The reason being that when you're retrieving thoughts and you have working memory space, right? If you put more effort into retrieving those thoughts, and which you are because you're getting those thoughts from a larger pool of thoughts, then it's going to take up more of the memory space because the more effort you put into obtaining a thought, the larger amount of space it's going to take up in the memory space. Even if the information might not be as compact, it's not as dense, it's still going to take up a lot of space in the working memory space. Okay. So let's just move on. Is taken up during the whole process. So choosing next thoughts become more difficult. Because when more of your memory space is being taken up, you're trying to choose next thoughts, but it becomes harder because it's just something that you have to remember. Like when your memory space is taken up, right, almost full, not empty, okay, it's filled up by a significant margin, let's say. Then choosing the next thoughts becomes more difficult. And the reason why, and I don't think I can come up with an explanation off the top of my head right now, but it's just something you have to remember, right? If there's less space in the working memory space, because it's more information is being occupied in there, then the choosing of the next thought is going to be much more difficult. Okay, but the choosing of the next thought is also dependent on how large the pool of thoughts are that you're choosing from. Anyways, and hence the time the problem takes to solve grows sort of exponentially, but more so quadratically over n squared time. Well, what do I mean by over n squared? So this is a concept in computer science, right? Where if you input something of size n, you get something of n squared, and that's referring to time. So, for example, you have like a list of numbers, five numbers in the list. It's going to take 25 time, whatever the unit of time is. We don't know. We're just applying it in this case, right? So basically, what it means is, what do I mean by that? Let me just scroll down real quick. So as you can see, this diagram right here, it's over n squared. It starts taking effect in the second stage. So in the first stage, you're just occupying the working memory space. Then in the second stage, because your working memory space has been occupied by like a lot, like compared to this, right? This is much more compact, much more neat. This is really big because you're choosing from a large pool of thoughts compared to a small pool of thoughts, as you can see. And so because of that, because your working memory space has been taken up, and for the second try, you're also still taking from a large pool of thoughts, from a large pool of memories. So then that is going to take up a lot of effort. So then if it takes a lot of effort, then it's going to fill up the working memory space by a lot, right? All right, so for that reason, let's just go back up. Yeah, for that reason, that's why we have an over n squared, because both of those reasons complement each other to make the process much more slow. Okay, and like, yeah, so that's why. So this is why it's especially important to revise, if possible, problems, and I didn't write that down, with multiple stages or components to them. Hi, math, right? Like with math problems, you can have multiple stages and components. This is also why people who do past papers for math are, they also tend to be the highest, get the highest scores, despite a lack of understanding of the concepts, because they've been practicing those past papers, right? They've seen such problems before, and allows them to select from a much smaller pool of thoughts in each step of going from one thought to the next. Okay? So we were talking about the overall process here, and within the process, what you're doing is you're going from one thought to the next, and the process of doing that requires much less effort. So it's sort of like the diagram on the right here. I was just scrolling down, like this, right? It's much more compact, less space is being taken up. You're choosing from a smaller pool of thoughts because you've already done those questions. Okay, this is much more vague. This is much more specific. You know what you're doing. Okay, you just retrieve it from your memory without having to search through many other memories to solve the problem. Yeah, okay. Overall, there's both more space in the working memory space for information retrieval for the whole process, okay, and a small pool of thoughts to choose from for information retrieval from one thought to the next, okay? So the process or problem is able to be done successfully in less time. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Kind of cool.